Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and today is Thursday, September 24th, 2020, and it's time for another issue of the Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie. And man, what a meaty group of topics we've got to talk about tonight. Of course, we have the information that's dropping in this week's TWAB. We had a trailer for Europa go live earlier this week. If you missed that, it was really cool, shows off a lot of the new locations we'll be traveling to on Europa. A bunch of the new armor and weapons we'll be gathering, the new enemies we'll be fighting, and the new abilities we will be engaging in. In particular, one of the new locales that was shown off there looks to be one of the areas where exo development may have taken place. We do know that the Deep Stone Crypt is going to be a part of this expansion, and it's very likely we might have seen a little bit of that area over the course of this video itself. If you missed that video, we'll have a link to the full thing down in the description box below so you can go and check it out. Of course, alongside that, we got to see our first full view of the map of Europa, and I gotta say, it's looking pretty meaty. As a part of that trailer release, we of course got the Bungie webpage for Europa as well, and it gave us this look at the map of that planetoid. Or actually, I guess it would probably be more accurate to say the moon of Europa, what this new world space is going to look like. Size-wise, this thing is looking pretty massive. I'd say it looks about similar in size to some of the world spaces like Nessus and the Dreaming City, both of which I'd consider to be pretty huge game maps. But in addition to that trailer and everything we learned from that, we also got some really interesting information in the TWAB. Iron Banner is going to be returning next week. Yep, it's back already. From September 29th until October 6th, Lord Saladin is going to be back in the tower. Again, this is a part of that whole extending the season until the new Beyond Light release date. Remember, Beyond Light was originally supposed to release on Tuesday of this week. So we're now getting into the final stretches before we hit the new release date of November 10th, and Iron Banner is probably going to be a recurring part of that. Additionally, Bungie announced that Forsaken and the Shadowkeep expansion have become available on Xbox's Game Pass. So if you're a part of that premium service, you should have access to both of those X-Packs now. Moving on from there, Bungie also gave us a bit of insight into how the world space of Europa was created. In an article they titled 100% Chance of Snow, we got to hear about some of the environmental and weather designs of Europa. We even got some really awesome looks at how the weather will be changing on Europa when we get a chance to dive into it. There's going to be snowstorms, there's going to be variable lighting, your visibility is going to be changing. We got this awesome couple of screenshots that show kind of what Europa looks like on a clear day to what it looks like during a light storm and what it looks like during a heavy storm. And in the article, some of the VFX team goes on to talk about how they wanted Europa to feel like a treacherous new frontier, with icy danger around every corner. And that creating disorienting blizzards and snowstorms was a huge part of that. They even went so far as to give us a bit of an audio clip showing what some of the ambient sounds of Europa will be like. It's really cool stuff and really great insight into the creative process there at Bungie. And if you want to learn all about that, I'll have a link to this article down in the description box as well. But beyond that, the big ticket item from this week's TWAB is about some major and minor technical changes that are coming to the game with Destiny 2 Beyond Light. In a section titled Talking Tech, Preparing for Beyond Light, we hear from Destiny Engineering Director David Aldridge. And in this section, he talks an awful lot about some of the more mechanical aspects of the way Destiny works, some things that they're going to be changing, and how exactly it's going to affect you as a player. Now, this section is huge, and there's no way I'm going to be able to cover absolutely everything he talks about here. Thankfully, he gives us quick summaries for every section and how exactly these changes are going to affect the in-game player. So if you want to read that sort of stuff, all of the juicy details, again, we'll have a link to the TWAB in the description box below. But first things first, David explains a bit of the philosophy behind some of these changes, and I thought it was important to cover this. Here's what he had to say. We learned many lessons from the transition to Destiny 2 and from shipping Curse of Osiris, Warmind, Forsaken, the Year 2 Seasons, and Shadowkeep. When we evaluated those lessons, we decided not to pursue a Destiny 3, but instead to reinvest everything in Destiny 2 and make it all that it can be. To support that strategy, we've made several tech investments to help us sustainably evolve the game for years to come, and some of those investments are arriving in Beyond light. So let's take a look at some of the major changes here. And again, thankfully, they have them in specific sections, so we're going to go through what the change is and how it's going to affect players. First, we shifted our mission scripting model to run on the physics host instead of the mission host. Here's what you as a player might notice from this change. The new scripting environment changed many behaviors in complex ways, and you may see interesting behavior changes or bugs in pre-Beyond Light missions, and public events and similar, that were originally built and tested on the previous system. We've tested these missions heavily and stamped out many bugs, but some will undoubtedly slip through. We'll be monitoring and fixing remaining bugs over time. In some cases, these issues were even more severe. For example, they caused the Prophecy Dungeon to be unavailable temporarily. We're all excited for its triumphant return, slated for the end of this year, which of course references the fact that the Prophecy Dungeon was actually going to be disappearing after this season. And apparently the reason for that was some of the engineering changes that they talk about here. One other cool feature in this area is face-to-face joins in social spaces, so you can now fire team up with tower friends without a long tower reload, meaning you can now invite random people in the tower without having to boot them out of their instance to join you. When you meet people in the tower, they can join right up with you without having to take that orbit detour. Alright, next up, we've revamped our content building and patching pipeline for speed and install size. This one is huge, as it basically deals with the overall size of the game. Here's what you might notice. Due to all these changes, Beyond Light will be a full re-download on all platforms. We know this will be painful for those with slower or metered internet connections, and we're sorry about that. To help mitigate this, we're planning to enable Beyond Light preloads sometime in the evening of November 9th Pacific time, which should give everyone at least 10 hours to download before the gates open. This is huge. Basically everyone, whether you're on Xbox, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, or PC, everybody is going to have to re-download all of Destiny 2. Next, they say that Destiny 2's install size is going to be shrinking by 30 to 40%. Due to a combination of culling unused or replaced content, install size optimizations, and moving some content to the Destiny Content Vault, Destiny 2's install size will shrink to between 59 and 71 gigabytes, depending on platform, meaning that 71's probably going to be PlayStation, which is a reduction of 30 to 40%. These improvements should also help us control the install size better in coming years. And of course, they go on to further explain that this should help them accomplish a couple of things. It's going to help us ship mission-critical fixes faster when game-breaking bugs arise. It's going to reduce their overall ship pipeline depth, enabling us to work on Destiny releases closer to their ship dates so we can react to fresher information about what's happening in the live game. For example, historically, each of our seasons has had to get deep into production before the preceding season launched, preventing us from reacting to learnings from that preceding season. These tech improvements should give us 1 to 2 more weeks of flexibility on a seasonal scale, helping us pivot more quickly in some cases. So basically, by cutting off a lot of this fat and optimizing the way the game works, they're going to be able to put out updates, hotfixes, and changes faster than they currently can. I'm all for it. But again, I will say RIP to PlayStation players. I know how rough downloading stuff on that platform can be. Next up is one that a lot of people are really excited about. They've rebuilt their character face system. And I know everybody's super excited about beard options. They haven't quite mentioned that yet. But what you may notice when this goes into effect is that your Guardian's face may look a bit different. Hopefully in the future, this will lead to better customization options, including the option to re-alter the way your character looks after you've already made them. And finally, they've relit portions of the EDZ and Nessus. They state that what you might notice is different lighting on existing destinations. The changes are intentional and are meant to bring the visual quality of these spaces up to our current lighting standards, while providing a fresh coat of paint for some of our Year 1 locations. We hope you enjoy these updates to some familiar locations when you explore the EDZ and Nessus this November. We'll see if anybody notices that as November rolls around. But there we go, Guardians. That's as quick of a look at some of these major technical changes as I can possibly give you. There's way more information about what they're doing behind the scenes here in the TWAB. So if you want to read all of the juicy details, make sure you hit that link down in the description box below. But alright, the last thing we've got to talk about this evening is the fact that we are getting a batch of new community emblems for characters to show off. These include emblems for the fashion show, featured artist, movie of the week, and Bungie bounties. We got a nice look at these new emblem variants here in the TWAB, and they went on to note that while these will become available with the Beyond Light, the Shadowkeep variants of these emblems is only going to be available through November 10th, so you're only going to have a few more chances to snag any of these community emblems before Beyond Light comes out. Additionally, Bungie's also taking the time to throw some love at some community volunteers. Whether you're one of their forum moderator ninjas, Bungie mentors on their help forums, or a community moderator during Bungie live streams, they've got a special series of new emblems to throw some love your way. Which I think is kind of an awesome way to shout out the people who give up their own time to help keep things smooth on the Bungie forums as well as on their Twitch live streams. Great job all around if you ask me. But alright Guardians, it's pretty much it for the biggest bits of news contained in this week's issue of the Bungie Weekly blog, This Week at Bungie. A lot of information carried there, and I hope you Guardians are looking forward to some of the more mechanical changes coming to the game. But that's the news, those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.